It's time for our daily dose of Cope, and we have brand new anchor Orion Steele at the news anchor's desk for the Leopards News Network. So many stories to get to. Let's take it away, Orion. We had to know that this was coming. We had already seen the stories about so many farmers filing for bankruptcy. We know that soybean farmers are not selling any of their soybeans. We know that these farmers are feeling the crunch from these trade wars and these dumb tariffs. So obviously this is going to happen. So this is an article from a couple of days ago from Fortune saying more financially distressed farmers are expected to lose their property soon as loan repayments and incomes continue to falter. Financial conditions in the agriculture economy are flashing more signs of strain as farmers' costs remain high while prices for their crops stay low. A survey last month from the Chicago Fed found that third quarter repayment rates in the Midwest for non-real estate farm loans were lower than a year earlier for the eighth quarter in a row. Meanwhile, 21% of the lenders who responded to the survey said collateral requirements for farm loans rose in the third quarter, while none reported that requirements eased. And an overwhelming 92%, that's really close to 100, majority expect net cash earnings, including government payments for crop farmers, to be lower during the fall and winter than a year earlier. As a result, nearly half of the bankers surveyed see forced sales or liquidations of farm assets owned by financially distressed farmers rising in the next 3 to 6 months. So next year, spring and summer are about to be vital, and we'll certainly be watching these numbers and what goes on in the farm community. And the reason why I keep talking about this is because I continue to say that Farmers for Trump is one of the dumbest MAGA demos because they saw what happened in the first go round and they're getting majorly screwed. This man right here, okay, not this man, the American Soybean Association, they have been talking about it because they are frantic. Caleb Ragland, who's over the American Soybean Association, he's been wringing his hands, but he's a Trump supporter. Now, I want to say about 67%, about 2/3 of farmers are Trump supporters. So this is what they voted for. Let me skip to this part. It says, unless revenues increase significantly next year, this would squeeze farm gate profits for a fourth year, marking the longest stretch of substantial soybean production losses since USDA's Economic Research Service 1998 through 2002 reporting period, the ASA warned. Several factors have spiked costs recently. Trump's tariffs have made key imports more expensive. Russia's war on the Ukraine boosted fertilizer prices, and the Federal Reserve's earlier round of rate hikes lifted borrowing costs. On the demand side, Trump's trade war essentially halted Chinese orders for U.S. soybeans until just recently, and I still don't think that they're making sales. So it's going to be vital that we continue to watch what's going on in the agriculture economy. All right, let's move it along. This article was interesting to me from Newsweek. The number of Republicans identifying as MAGA plunges like MAGA is becoming toxic, and now people are wanting to run away from the label. It's very interesting. The proportion of Republicans who say they identify more with the MAGA movement than the traditional Republican Party has declined, a new poll has shown. According to polling by NBC News, the proportion of self-identified Republicans who identify with MAGA, a political movement associated with Trump, has dropped by 7 percentage points since April this year. At the same time, those who say they identify more with traditional Republicanism has increased by 7 percentage points. Newsweek reached out to the White House by email to comment on this story outside of normal business hours. Why it matters, and I love this part. Listen up. The midterms are fast approaching, and the GOP are seeking to protect their slim majority in the House and Senate. If there are splits in the Republican movement, it could prove problematic for the GOP's performance in these elections, which would, in turn, damage Trump's brand and reputation. If the MAGA movement becomes less popular, it may also impact who the party chooses to succeed Trump for the 2028 presidential election. I really hope that they keep on fighting. I'm like, fight. Because these people are so fractured. It just warms my little heart. I'm skipping some of this to this part. It says, amid growing unease about the future of the party, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles said last week that the Republican Party is set to change its strategy for the 2026 midterm elections by putting Trump on the campaign trail. Overall, the NBC poll found that 58% of people disapprove of Trump. So I'm like, yes, put him out there. Put Dozy Don out on the trail. That would be amazing. All right, because 58% of people disapprove. So maybe we can get that number to climb. It says 42% approve of him. Who are these 42%? That is actually weird to me. And in April, 55% disapproved and 45% approved. So it sounds like things are dropping, but I think we can get that number higher. I think we can get that disapproval rate higher. If Trump and them keep playing with these people's money, I think that disapproval rate will continue. Now, here's a Facebook post from this man named Shane, and he definitely voted for Trump based on some of the other things that he said on his page. But Shane says, our loss is your gain. We lost 4 people who have work permits. I see all the posts about Hispanics taking American jobs. Here's your chance, the moment you've been waiting for. Job description. Be on the job at 7 and remove shingles with a shovel. Pick everything you removed and dispose of it in a dump trailer. Carry 80-pound bundles of shingles up a ladder, 1 and 2 stories, 170 bundles on average. Install felt, then install shingles. A lot of the roofs are very steep and unwalkable, but have no fear, we will provide you a harness and a rope so you won't die if you fall. I'll be at the office at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, and I expect the line to be out the door and around the corner. Hours are sun up to sundown. The thing about it is, lots of Americans do not want these jobs. They want to run all of the undocumented immigrants out. They want to run them out. But who's going to replace them in the labor market? They act like these jobs are not highly skilled. These jobs are highly skilled and not a lot of people want to do it, especially for the money that these people pay. So Shane is like, come on, I got the jobs. Come on, come work. But I highly doubt that the line was out the door and around the corner. This is another Shane saying, I lost my best trim out guy for our double wides. Has a visa till 2029, applied for residency in 2022. I became his sponsor and still fighting to get him out. I know plenty of thieves sucking from the American dream that I wouldn't mind deporting. So these people are being impacted because this administration lied, because they voted in a liar, comment fraudster. They are just going after brown people. And now these people that voted Donald Trump in are feeling it. Lillian says, it's so sad. Me married to a Hispanic is scared they will deport him, and he's totally legal. It's ridiculous. Good luck. Most American people will not work like Hispanics. Sorry, Shane. They won't. But we are seeing they are going to have these jobs go unfilled because Americans are not taking these jobs. I'm American. I ain't taking these jobs, but, obviously not. I'm going to sit here and make videos about it, though. Also, I didn't vote to deport labor. Todd says, good luck with that. Sad times, and I can see this hurting construction in general. It's a shame the ones that have papers and are legally here working are being picked up and abused. My crew is legal and scared to death to come to work. Chris says, that's hilarious. I wanted to post the same thing. You need to video that long line you'll have in the morning of all of the people standing in line. I will say I did not go back to his page to check and see if there was a video of all these people standing in line. This headline is funny to me. It looks like Dan Bongino, the podcasters, because both Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were MAGA podcasters. That's how they got the job. Clearly, they were experienced enough to go into the FBI and be the top dogs. But it looks like Dan Bongino has had enough. This dude looks stressed as all hell, and it looks like he might be trying to jump ship before all of the hits the fan. And I just had to laugh because Kash Patel's eyes are just hilarious to me. I know I'm petty. I do not care. He still looks funny. Now let's move to this post. The Earth Trekker says, I voted for him too, and he hasn't accomplished anything to satisfaction. Fewer deportations than Obama, bombing Iran, pending invasion of Venezuela, money to Ukraine and Israel, no Epstein files, nobody on trial for crimes like auto pen fraud, etc. Oh, and yeah, costs have gone down 0%. Did I miss anything? And then this person responds to that person saying, Obama had 8 years, stopped the war with Iran. He's pressuring Venezuela into negotiating. He cut off Ukraine, but Congress keeps sending them money because Congress has the power of the purse, not Donald Trump. He got a ceasefire in Gaza. He's literally the only one to ever release any Epstein files ever. Indictments against Comey and Willis with many more in motion, which got dropped because he keeps hiring people that are unqualified. These people are ridiculous. All right. And he has brought down gas, egg, etc. But more importantly, inflation itself, which you obviously don't understand how that works. Inflation has done nothing but gone up. I swear these people are the most uneducated people out there. What in the world? You're just troll and are not even American, are you? And this last person says, you're building TDS. And then the Earth Trekker responded with, Obama had 8 years. Trump has had almost 5. The deportations are still far behind. What war with Iran? The one between Israel and Iran that had nothing to do with us? Or the hyped up nonsense of them being weeks away? They've been weeks away since the early 2000s. He hasn't released anything unless you mean that the binder that Bondi gave out as a publicity stunt. That contained nothing that wasn't already public information. Comey and Willis indictments were overturned, and the dollar lost 25% of its value this year alone. So who doesn't understand inflation? Thanks for playing. Yes, he called the person out because that person was ridiculous. I am here for it. I am so glad that these people are arguing. It's just weird to me how uneducated and ill-informed some of these MAGAs are. All right, y'all, chime in. Let me know what you think about all this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
Now, I was unaware that Vanity Fair did pictures post-mortem. They not dead? Oh, okay. So they not dead. Anywho, if you've ever wondered what a racist Care Bear looks like up close, then this would be it. This is the result of not using sunscreen and being a horrible person. My God, Caroline, let me back up. Father Time beat the hell out of her, didn't she? Nobody likes her. Not her makeup artist, not this photographer, not the person that did her injectable. Look at her lips. This is a direct result of being a hateful person and having it seep through your skin. No amount of surgery can fix this. This man is a cartoon villain. If you ever wondered what a naked turtle looked like, look no further. And you may be wondering, Rashonda, why are you showing me characters from the game of Clue? But I assure you it is not. Although she does look like that she hit someone in the head with a wrench in the billiards room, this lady right here has been here since the beginning of time. She's shocked she's still alive. Now, this man has been rode hard and put up wet, and his melancholy look is sponsored by racism. That's right. The lines on his face is a map to a treasure of where he laid his dignity down. He won't be able to find it. Now, I thought Alfred Hitchcock was dead and gone. I can't do this.
I read Vanity Fair's bombshell interview with Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, so you don't have to. And here are the highlights. First off, let's talk about the way that she describes her own boss and some other folks throughout the administration. She says that Trump has an alcoholic's personality. She says that Vice President J.D. Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for over a decade. She says that Russ Vought, who is the notorious architect of Project 2025 and the head of the Office of Management and Budget, is a right-wing absolute zealot. When asked about Trump pardoning 1,500 January 6 rioters, she says that she did try to push back on it and that she was on board with some people who maybe didn't do anything violent, but that she didn't believe that all of them should be pardoned. But at the end of the day, Trump got what he wanted. Some of the most interesting commentary she had was for Elon Musk. She said that he's an avowed ketamine user and that he sleeps in a sleeping bag in the EOB, the executive office building at the White House. And he's an odd duck, as I think geniuses are. You know, it's not helpful, but he is his own person. And when it came to Musk completely eviscerating USAID, so keep in mind, this is the world's richest man dismantling an organization that aims at providing humanitarian relief for the world's poorest people. She said that she was initially aghast and that she didn't agree with his handling of it. But apparently that wasn't enough for her to push back or try to stop him. She did admit that there have been times where the Trump administration needs to be more careful with their deportations, and her and the author discussed an example of when a U.S. citizen 4-year-old child who was receiving cancer treatment was deported. She admitted that there were huge disagreements within the administration about whether Trump's tariffs were a good idea or not. And she went on to concede that they have been more painful than she expected. When asked if she was surprised about Trump demolishing the historic East Wing for his 90,000 square foot ballroom, she said no, she wasn't surprised, and she went on to say you only know a little bit of what he's planning. And when pressed by the reporter about are there other undisclosed renovations, she said, I'm not telling. So in case you were wondering what the president is prioritizing nowadays, it's making the White House into his own personal palace and as tacky as possible. She went on to acknowledge that Trump is in the Epstein files, but that he's not doing anything awful, even though they won't release some. Interesting. She goes on to say that Trump and Epstein, they were young, single, whatever. Keep in mind that in the 90s, when Trump was very tight with Epstein, he would have been in his late 40s, early 50s, not so young, in my opinion, if you ask. And when asked about Trump's claim that Bill Clinton visited Epstein's island 28 times, she admitted that the president was wrong about that. Oh, and those boats that we keep bombing off the coast of Venezuela? Remember how that might actually be a war crime? Yeah, when asked about Trump's Venezuela strategy, she says, quote, he wants to keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle. So that contradicts what the Trump White House has been saying about their strategy, which they say relates to drug interdiction. But this seems to imply that it's all about regime change. When asked about J.D. Vance flipping from big Trump critic to now big Trump supporter, she said, quote, his conversion came when he was running for the Senate. And I think his conversion was a little bit more sort of political. AKA, she basically called Vance a chameleon and a career opportunist. When asked about the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche visiting Ghislaine Maxwell in prison and then her being transferred shortly thereafter to a luxury prison where she's able to play with puppies, she said that neither her nor Trump had been consulted about Maxwell's transfer to a less restrictive facility after Blanche's visit, and that the president was ticked and that the president was mighty unhappy. I don't know why they moved her, neither does the president. You would think that the most powerful man in the world would be able to figure that question out, then the answer to it, and might be able to reverse it. But shockingly, they haven't done so. When asked about Trump's health, she said that it's great. And when asked about him falling asleep in recent cabinet meetings, she said, quote, he's not asleep. He's got his eyes closed and his head leaned back. And he's fine. Okay, sure, Susie, but why is the White House so reluctant to tell us then why he has all these bruises on the back of his hand that he keeps covering up with makeup and bandages? And in case you missed it, Trump recently snapped at a female reporter to, quote, quiet piggy. And what did Susie have to say? She said, quote, he's a counterpuncher, and increasingly in our society, the punchers are women. Yes, because that's exactly the behavior I want out of the President of the United States and setting an example for our nation's children. And when asked about Trump seeking revenge and retribution on his perceived political enemies, she said that initially she asked Trump that it would end after 90 days, but obviously that has continued. And then she tried to say, I don't think he's on a retribution tour, but who would blame him? Not me. And then when asked about specifically Letitia James and the indictment of her, she said, oh, well, that one actually might be retribution. If you made it to the end of this video, you deserve a pat on the back for making it all the way to the end. But drop a comment and let me know what you think of what Chief of Staff Susie Wiles had to say in her brutally honest assessment of the Trump administration and some of their failures.